Hi, this is the introduction of what to read based on your favorite color. There will be trigger warnings, there will be what age you should and shouldn't read this. This is the romance edition, so anything that you want to read that isn't romance, just romance by the way, bye bye, I'm sorry, this is not the video for you. So yes, there will be trigger warnings, there will be age, a little bit of what it is about. If it's a part of a series, I may, show in my little box that will be probably underneath all the writing what, the other books are. For example, I have here a Chloe Walsh book. If I have any of the other ones, which I do, I will probably put here in my little box if you do want to see that. There are probably around 20-ish books to be said today, probably around that. And yeah, so I'll be going by color, obviously in rainbow order: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, pink. If there are books that I missed that you guys want on here, go ahead. I am just doing the books that I have either read or own, so there may be a few either audiobooks on here, Kindle if I have any on Kindle, which I think I have like one. And yeah, that is about it. So I hope you enjoy your day, and I hope you enjoy this video. Let's begin. Hi, the first read book is Redeeming Six. I do have a script off to the side of me, so if I am looking this way, that is why. If you cannot hear me when I look this way, please let me know in the comments, and I will obviously try to redo this video. But so I haven't read this book yet, but I have read the first two. It is based on in the south of Ireland, and the time frame is 1999 and 2005, which I think is a pretty good time frame for, I want to say, like, becoming an adult book. Yeah, I feel like this is a becoming an adult book. There is also a glossary of all of the slang that is used in the book and throughout the series, which is honestly really helpful, as a lot of the words I did not understand, and then I found out that there was a glossary and I didn't have to look up every single word that I didn't know. But yeah, I didn't struggle with any of the words or reading this because of this. And there was also a punctuation page if people are like, oh, I want to get the name perfect. Well, there you go. If you have already read the books, this is about Joey and his relationship. Yeah, it is the fourth book out of so far 5. There are 5 books so far. This is in 2024 June. Hopefully there's more coming soon, but yes. The trigger warnings are that there are upsetting topics about abuse, sexual context, and this book is definitely for mature readers. The abuse in the first 2 books are family abuse. I'm not sure if that continues on into the 4th or 3rd book, or even the 5th, because the first 2 books are about the sister, and then it's about this 3rd and 4th book is about Joey, who is her brother, and the 5th one is about Gibson. I don't know how to say his first name, so I'm just gonna go with his last name. But yeah, I'm not exactly sure if all these have family abuse or if it's just the first 4 or 2, but there are definitely some abuse topics in these books. There is also sexual context, sexual activities, and sexual topics. So obviously if you were 13, 14 going, ooh, I should read this book, probably not. I was 16 when I read this book. It's a pretty good age to read this. So yeah, this book is definitely not for people under the age of 15. That is just a personal opinion. if you're an adult and you have a daughter or a son that's like 13 and you think they're mature enough to read this, they're mature enough to read this. It's really just the parent's decision, or yourself, if you just are very embarrassed to tell your mother that you read sexual books or things about abuse. But yeah, it's just a personal opinion, as I've read part of this, and the reason that I say it is probably not for people under 15 is because mostly the topic of abuse is unknown to people, like they don't really understand it as well. And also the sexual topics, I just don't think it's appropriate for the younger viewers or readers that read. I think I might have one or two books that I might be okay for 13-year-olds or 14-year-olds, but I'm not really sure, because I've kind of gone past that stage of reading young adults or books that do not have any explicit or adult mature topics. But I do have, sorry, one of these has a sticky note, so I'm going to take it off. I do have these 3 books. So this is the 3rd one, and you have the 4th, and this is the 5th. This is probably in a tiny little screen on the screen. Sorry, this is a tiny little frame on the screen. If you cannot see it, I am really sorry. I will try to make it more obvious where I am on the screen. But yes, so these are pretty thick. One of these are 900 pages. I'm not exactly sure which one, but these are thick books. Binding 13 and Keeping 13, I read that. They're both in like a week, and they're about the same, maybe a bit bigger. But I do not have those at the moment with me, sadly, so I cannot show you my tab working and what I did tab and what to look out for and whatnot. But yes, so honestly, if you're over the age of 15, you like hearing sad, depressing stories, you like a series where each couple books, it is a different character, it is a totally different story. Because the book 3 and 4 has Joey and his girlfriend's perspective, so you can see both of the main characters, which I think is a lot better, and I think some series should do this more. But yeah, my final words of this book, I haven't read this one, but I am really hoping I can read this before the end of the year, because I did read the other first 2 last year before these ones came out, and I've been waiting ages to read these. So hopefully I can read these this year and give you a full review. I will hopefully go back to get my other 2 books. They are at just a different house at the moment, as I just moved like a few months ago, and I've been keeping them at my dad's house. So hopefully I can go get those soon and do a review on those and then read these 2. But yes, I would recommend to read this, but not if you're under 15, and not if you are not mature enough. Like if you're, 15 and everything is funny to you, please don't read this, because I really don't think you'll get through it. But if you're into smaller books or smaller book series, I do have other book series that are sad and obviously emotional, but they are still really good to read if you prefer smaller series. And I also have ones that aren't sad, like at all. So onto book 2, which I don't even know where it is. It's all the way down here. Right. I will now do the book 2. Hi, we're on to book 2, Exodotus. I think that's how you say it. By the way, during this segment, probably the rest of the video, you will notice that one side of my hand, well, nails are painted and the other is not. I'm working on it slowly. But So I have read this book before, and I do recommend it if you're into a darker romance. This is, I don't want to say it is dark like black, but it is a little bit like, if you're getting into dark romance or you want to just dip your toe in, I'd start with this. It is a part of Ravenhood series, and I'm pretty sure I'm saying this right, but Cecilia is the main character. She does join a secret group after falling in love with a couple of men that she's met. And this is the main idea for Flock Book 1. I cannot be bothered to ramble in this pile of books for Flock and the Finish Line, but don't worry, it will be coming later. Some trigger warnings of these books and the series in general is violence, drug use, and sexual contacts. Ooh. So if you are under 15, I am once again sorry. You should probably not read this. Only because it does have some harder topics, and there is a relationship with 3 people in it, which, if you do not understand sexuality, probably not your thing. And some people are probably gonna be like, "Ooh, that's interesting. Yep." There's a lot of, I don't want to say there's a lot of kinks in this, but I do want to say that is definitely one of them. This is also a lot shorter series, obviously, than the last series. The last one was Redeeming Six. That's still continuing from what I understand, and this, again, from what I understand, is finished. I'm not really sure when this was published. It might say on the front, but I'm not exactly sure, but I'm pretty sure this is first published in 2020, so this is probably over and done with now, because there is a 3rd book that kind of does finish it off. But yes, this is a lot smaller, obviously, than Redeeming Six and the Boys of Toadman. I'm not even sure. But I have read this whole series. I do recommend you to read it if you are getting into dark romance. It is for some people it may be a harder book, but mostly because it's dark romance. There's things that you don't see every day. There's things in everyday books and novels that you obviously are like, that's different. This was my first dark romance book, and see, I'm calling it a dark romance book because that's what the internet is telling me. If you don't count it as a dark romance book, you don't count it as a dark romance book. But this was the first dark romance book that I had read for the genre. I have read maybe 1 or 2 more, possibly. I'm not even sure if any of my other books I have a dark romance, but I have read a couple more from this point, and I thought it was okay. Well, I mean, I haven't finished the 2nd one, but I thought they were okay. So yes, if you are getting into it and you just want to dip your toe in, this is a really great dark romance book. But with every book that I am telling you right now, all of these, do make sure you look up the trigger warnings. I didn't. There were a few books that I was like, kind of wish I looked up the trigger warnings, but I'm still going to read it. I still would have if I had known the trigger warnings, but yes. But do remember, some trigger warnings, if you go on their website, they do spoil the book sometimes. As I found out slowly researching some of these books that I haven't read yet, sometimes they do spoil a little bit, but yes, go ahead and read this right now if you're into that. Okay, so we're now on to Orange. This is the first book that isn't a part of a series. You could probably finish this in maybe like less than a week or 2 if you're like really busy or just like a really slow reader. But this book is Love Deception. The Spanish Love Deception. I have read this book. It was actually the first romance book that I have ever read, which was last year. I really enjoyed it, obviously, because I got more romance books, and I've also gotten more books by her. But the main character, Catalina, I think that's how you say it, like, I think that's how you say her name, but I'm not really sure. She's the main character alongside with Aaron Blackford, and she needs a date for a wedding, and sadly Aaron is the only one who is able to take her. But she isn't a big fan of his. As they get to know each other, she gets feelings for him, and so does he. Now the only warning I can really say is that there is sexual context, but it is very little. There's maybe like 2-3 scenes in the whole book, and it's not a lot. It's not a lot, in my personal opinion. So I say like a 14-15-year-old could read this, possibly 13, but I would honestly, if you're 13 and you want to read this book, ask your mother first, or ask someone first, like a grown-up. As there isn't much sexual context as most romance books have nowadays, it's kind of just a sweet story of enemies to lovers, but also a little bit of co-worker love, like they work at the same place and that's how they know each other. It is a bit of a slow burn, as like maybe halfway through, probably a bit more than halfway, that's when she realizes she has feelings. So for a 473 page book, I'd say it is a bit of a slow burn, but just because I think it's a slow burn doesn't mean you don't have to, like, doesn't mean that it's bad. I know a lot of people are like, oh, slow burn. Oh, they're just holding hands. Oh, they only kissed at page 300. Honestly, I read first 200 pages in like a sitting. I'm not gonna lie. I did kind of eat this up. This was a really good book. It took me about 4 days in total because I was very busy. I had school and whatnot. But honestly, really great book. If you are just wanting to dip your toe into romance, I do recommend this, but there are some smaller books that are like better, I guess. Well, not really better, but like if you're just wanting to dip your toe in, they're probably better if you just want a smaller one. If you're into like medium-sized books and you want a romance book, I do recommend the Elia Armas. I think that's how you say her name. I think she is a Spanish writer, but she does write in English. I think she's a Spanish writer. I do want to look that up. I do want to know, but I'm pretty sure she is a Spanish writer. Yeah, Spanish romance writer. But she does write in English. There are a few Spanish phrases in this. You can just Google it. Just Google it. I'm pretty sure there is a bit of Spanish in it, because I do remember reading something of that. But yes, I honestly think this is a really great book. Out of 5, I'd say a 5. I know. What? That has to be perfect. It kind of was for a first romance book. Like, in the moment, it was a 5 out of 5. Now that I've read some other things, it might be like a 4. But it was still a top read. Still a top read. Still always will be a top read. In this, I do have her other books in this. I'm pretty sure she's only written 2 more, which I think I have all of them. But I have heard a rumor that she might be writing another one. So if you're a fan of her, go buy her books and go look into the next one, because I'm pretty sure there's another one coming. But yes, she's a really great writer. She's written 2 other books, I think, possibly more, but I do have them, so it's okay. We are now going into Yellow, I think. Yes, Yellow. Alright, we're officially onto Yellow, which there's only one yellow book. I know. I need to get more yellow, orange books. and whatnot, but I have not read this. So I personally cannot say if it's good or not. But my boyfriend has read this, and he says it's a 5 out of 5. Me and him are both Ali Hazelwood fans. I have read Love Hypothesis and Love in the Brain. Those were really good. Like, really good. I'm pretty sure I ate those, like, in a week. Like, I fully devoured that. But I have not read this yet because, one, when I bought this, I had other books to read, and two, we only just moved, and I just remembered I have this book. So, I know, I need to read it. But I can't give a summary or what age to read this, but I did look up what online has said, and I will also be reading the back a little bit. So Shelf Reflection, which I'm pretty sure comes up a few times, this website, says that love theoretically is for mature readers, but doesn't say much of what the mature topics was. So I did go on Ali Wood Hazel's website and look up what the, like, warnings were, the trigger warnings. So hopefully I don't spoil anything here. Like, I hope you don't count this as a spoil. But there is sexual context, death in the past, because it says it's not on page, it's in past, so. Graphic context. I'm not exactly sure what the graphic is. I don't know if it's violence, abuse, or what, but it just said graphic context. It also has bad language, so swearing. Which, if you're watching this, I swear too, so. Honestly, I don't think swearing is that bad. I mean, it might be a trigger warning for some people, but in my honest opinion, I don't think swearing is a bad thing. If you understand the context and you're not just going at a rampage of swearing. Like, if you stuff up and then you say fuck or shit. I don't think it's that bad. So, moving onwards, the book is about a theoretical physicist, Elsie. She's finally caught up. The many lives of theoretical physicist Elsie has finally caught up with her. I was trying to summarize that for you guys, but she's a professor, grading labs and teaching oh my god. See, I love nerdy books, but I hate trying to say the words. I will try to put it in the slideshow, because I haven't done that yet. I've only done like half of the script. But she's teaching some sort of science class. She makes up for a non-existent paycheck by offering her services as a fake girlfriend. It's really interesting. Jack Smith, the annoyingly attractive and arrogant older brother of her favorite client, turns out to be cold-hearted experimental physicist who ruined her mentor's career and undermined the reputation of theoreticists. Oh my god. Theoreticists. See, I should not be reading this out loud. Honestly, I should have just written it down and left you guys to read it. But I'm too nice. Oh my god. And he's the same Jack Smith who rules over the physics department at MIT, standing right between Ellis and her dream job. So honestly, this kind of sounds like an enemies to lovers from the back. But, again, I haven't read, haven't looked up. This is all I know. Well, besides from the trigger warnings. It doesn't really say what age you should and shouldn't read this, but with the topics and since I've already read Ali Hazelwood before, I'd say 15, possibly 14 if you're mature enough, but again 15. I'm not entirely sure what age you should read this. Hopefully I do put some sort of age in the slide show thing. I will ask people who have already read it, and I will try to find an age for you guys, but what I am saying right now is 15. If it says something else on the PowerPoint, listen to the PowerPoint. Listen to the PowerPoint. We are now moving on to green already. We're almost like halfway. Yeah, we're about halfway. So, we're now moving on to green. Hooray. Sadly, this is the last green one of today for 2024 June so far. So I also did get this today. It is in the unboxing video that was out like, I don't know, a few hours ago. So this is another Bridgerton, thank God, number 2. I haven't read it yet. I literally got it today, but I haven't read it yet. So a lot of reviewer websites have said that this series is 18 and up, which from the Bridgerton book that I read, which wasn't number 1 by the way, I didn't read number 1, I read number 4 technically. From what I was reading on there, I don't want to say it's 18 plus, but it really depends on the person. Which I guess I understand, as there is quite a lot of sexual context in the book, and in the show. But I have also read one of these books. And in my honest opinion, if you are old enough to watch Bridgerton, which in Australia is MA15, so you have to be 15 and over, I think it's okay to read these books, but only if you can handle the mature topics. The only reason I say that if you can watch the Bridgerton show, you can read this, is because there is nudity in that, right? And there is obviously, well, I mean, there's not really any hard topics from what I'm understanding in the show. There might be in the books, it might be different. But this one is about Anthony, which is the first son. So yeah, the first son. When I watched this the second series, so this one, but in the show, it was an enemies to lovers. It was a little bit of a slow burn, just a little bit, but in a good way. It was really, really good, actually. Honestly, I want to say that the characters by themselves are really unique, but in Bridgerton there is quite a lot of drama, or scandals as they say. I do not want to spoil it, but all I can say is that there is a lot of drama in Bridgerton, the show, and in the books. It's based on the 1800s, and if you know the rules of marriage in the 1800s, you have to be married before you do anything. Or at least that's what the show has displayed. So, yeah, it is a lot of scandal, there's a lot of drama. I don't want to say there's a lot of twists, but if you haven't watched the show, then yeah, there's a lot of twists. There's not much else I can say, because I am going to show you the 2 other books in like 2 seconds, like the Bridgerton books in 2 seconds. So yeah, we'll move on to this one, and I'll do it in like one video so you guys can see all the Bridgerton ones, because I kind of want to get these ones done. But this is the one that I've read. This is about Penelope and Colin, how they went from friends to lovers. And this is book 4. I know I probably should have started at book 1, but I have mentioned the age rating for this. again, 15 in Australia. It might be different if you're in a different country. But it's a really great book if you like 1800s or just old romantic. As I said before, there's a lot of drama, not only in the books but in the show. I did make a video of this book and this season, but there also may be some spoilers in there. And if you do want me to make a video of the whole show so far, with no spoilers, detail, like a trailer, but for the people who want to read the books and watch the show, I'll do that, but I do need to read book 1 and 2 first. Alright, now moving on to... oh, god damn it. Moving on to The Duke and I. So this is the first book of the series and the first season. And this one, I'll read the back because this is where you're going to begin with. So what this is saying is that, God, my hand is all shaky. So Daphne is the 4th out of 8 siblings in her close-knit family. She's formed friendships with the most eligible young men in London. Everyone likes her for her kindness and wit, but no one truly desires her. I am just going to summarize it because it is quite a lot. If you do want to read the whole back, I do recommend just going online. Simon, Duke of Hastings, recently returned to England from abroad. He doesn't really want to get married. I do not know what the word is saying here, but I do know that he just doesn't really want to get married. He's not interested. He's not really interested in society. Just like his father. And he did have a somewhat like painful childhood. But he meets Daphne and they agree to make a fake courtship. As he can, as Simon can then avoid the mothers of daughters. And then, so Daphne can get a possible suitor. Now, this is where season 1 starts. If you like reading books beforehand, this is the book that you want to start off with. Now, these are the TV ones. These are the only ones I will be getting. So, if you do want me to review all of the Bridgerton books, I will be getting them on Kindle because they're a lot cheaper, because you can get them in collections instead of just buying individually. But I probably will do that just so I can finish the whole story and understand it fully. I will then do a review, and then when it comes to the season, I'll either reread the book or I'll do a book review and the season. But yeah, this is what you begin with. I'll get the second one very quickly. This is the second one. There is a book between this one and this one. But other than that, there is 8 books in the whole series. There is also a few prequels as well, with the family's point of view. There is also Queen Charlotte, which I haven't really read the books, just one. I'm not really sure if Queen Charlotte is actually in the books or if she's just in the show, but there is a prequel of her as well. And that is really all I have to say about Bridgerton books. That is all the Bridgerton books. We are still going on blue though, the color blue, as I have 5 more blue books, so good luck to me. So yeah, we're gonna move on to the rest of the blue books now. Hi, so I have had to record this on my computer because it literally will not send to my computer no matter what I do, so I've had to resort to my computer camera and microphone. If this does not work, I'm really sorry. If you can't hear me or it's really bad, it's literally just for one book. So I haven't read The Long Game yet, and I do not have the book with me at the moment. But from what Amazon is saying is that the age rating is 13 to 17, but another website named Lucy Mary is saying that there's gaslighting, toxic relationship, and manipulation, so the book should be 18 plus. Then the trigger warning database page is saying that the trigger warnings are panic attacks, death of family, PTSD, and cyberbullying, and there is also sexual context. But with all these topics, unless they are really hard on someone or they're written in great detail, I don't think this book should be 18 plus. But also with the sexual context, I don't think it should be for a 13-year-old. But it really does depend on how mature the person is and how, how they take the information. I haven't read this, so I cannot really say what it's about. I think I have wrote a summary, but if not, it's basically a soccer kind of book. I was going to say soccer and city girl, but found out that she's not from the city, so it's just soccer book. Yeah, there's not much information that I know about the book. I have been told it's really good, but again, I would say the age rating is honestly 15 and over. But it's honestly up to you guys if you read it or not. I think we're on to Blue now, so. Okay. So I just found out that I didn't record 2 of the books, but they're a part of the same series, so I'm going to do it in one. And they're even in the same colour, so I'm happy. Alright, I'm going to start off with this. The Duke and I, Bridgerton, Book 1. I have already said about Book 2, but this is where you begin. I'm actually really annoyed that I didn't record this, and now I gotta do it all over again, I think. Great day. But basically, Daphne is friends with all the gentlemen of the Ton, but they don't think that she's marriage material. And then Simon, well, in the show at least, I don't really want to read all the back because it's kind of everywhere, but Simon basically doesn't want to get married. And he also doesn't want to deal with the mothers of the Ton telling him that they should marry their daughters. So what do they do? They he fakes courting her. So she will potentially get a marriage proposal, and he doesn't have to deal with the women of the Ton until he leaves. I'm not going to say much more. If you've already watched Bridgerton, read the books. Even if you're not a book person, try reading the first one. I haven't read this one yet, but try reading it because they're pretty good. I have read one, and I know. What do you mean you haven't read the first one, but you've read one of them? I'm a dumbass, really. So yes, do read this if you have watched Bridgerton. Now, the age restriction thing on here, I say if you can watch Bridgerton, you can read it. That is only because there is nudity in there, but, it's Bridgerton. They say that the book is 18 plus, which I don't understand because the show isn't 18 plus, but it shows certain things. So, the next book is technically the fourth book here, but I am only buying the TV versions. Unless I buy them on Kindle, I'm only buying the physical TV versions. Why? Because it looks better. You can't judge me. It looks better. In this one, it is about Penelope and Colin. All of the books are about the Bridgerton children. The first one is about Daphne. The second one is about Anthony. The third one is about Benedict. The fourth one is about Colin. Then it's Eloise, and I've forgotten the others. I know. I'm reviewing books to you, telling you about them, and I've forgotten the order. But basically, go ahead and read these if you've already watched Bridgerton. If you do not know if you want to watch Bridgerton or read it, I say read it because these are different than the show. Obviously, the show was made after the book. The books were made in like 2000s or something, which I didn't know. But if you do enjoy 1800s old romance, these are great. There is a lot of drama, but not like, 21st drama where it's like, oh my god, she cheated on me, or he's gay. Actually, wait, there might be a bit of that, but there is in the show. I know that's a spoiler, but there is in the show. If you don't want to read about if you're homophobic, whatever, don't watch the show. I don't know about the books. I don't think there's any different sexualities in the book, but I'm not really sure. But yeah, there is drama in the books, but it's as they say, scandals, more like. It's very, I guess, Christian or Catholic, I don't even know, but it's like you got to get married before you have a child kind of thing. If you're not interested in that, don't watch it or read it. It's very popular at the moment, and in Australia it is MA15. So go ahead and read that and watch it. I don't really have anything else to say about the books, really. But I will be starting to read this one very soon. So watch out for that. Watch out for season 1 book review. Have a great day. And oh, wait, no, not have a great day. Watch the rest of this video. We're moving on to Taming 7 in a minute, I think. So go watch that. Sorry for the new angle, but I have a dog. If I sit up on the chair, I can't do any work. If I sit on the ground, she'll sleep. I thought sleeping was better than not being able to do work. Sorry, I am not understanding why this stand is so wobbly, but anyway, so we're on to the purple. Yeah, we're on to the purple. So this is the last Chloe Walsh book so far of the Boys of Totem series. So this is about Gerard. I think that's how you say his name, Gerard, and Claire. If you have read the first 2 books, which is Binding 13 and Keeping 13, the main characters of those 2 are Shannon and Joey. These are their friends. So again, with Redeeming 6, it's based in South Ireland, of course, with a glossary and pronunciation page. God, I'm quite dead. It is a big book collection, with each book being about 800 pages each. But if you do like everyday romance novels, these are the thing for you. Even if you're like, I don't like big books. Well, these are pretty good. I would say a 16-year-old could read this. I read the first 2 last year, and I haven't read any of these ones this year. The trigger warnings of this book are rape, death in family, suicide, and drowning. These are some pretty tough topics throughout the books. I know, everyday romance novels, suicide, drowning, I don't think these are everyday. They're everyday for the dark side of humanity, which I honestly think if you want to, like, if you think you have a great life, you have everything you want, nothing could go wrong, these books will humble you. These books will make you think, fuck, I've got it good. Like, you got it real good. I read the first two books. I'm gonna admit, I don't think my life is fantastic. I hate it sometimes, like everyone else. But I also love my life sometimes. I read those two books and I'm like, I think I like living. Depression, that doesn't exist for me anymore. Read those two books. They humbled me very quickly. They will humble you. You know, you think your life is really great, but you don't realize how great. And for people that think their life is really shit, trash, maybe depending on the situation, I guess these books may humble you, but these books may make you feel like you have a voice. These are obviously very traumatic books. If you have trauma, like, if you're gonna read these, definitely look at every single book, look at every trigger warning, go on every single website, make sure you look through all the trigger warnings, because these can make your trauma, like, you can have responsive trauma, or you can possibly have a nightmare. The first book I read, I've never experienced any of these topics this bad. I might have had a few arguments with my family, might have had a few miscommunication, might have experienced something at the bare minimum, but not to this extreme. Even I, at some moments in the book, had to sit down and just go, wow. So even someone that doesn't have trauma, doesn't know what these experiences are like, I can tell you right now, you're gonna get a hint of what it feels like. You're gonna go, wow, what the hell? Honestly, if you can deal with that, read this. Read these books. Please. Not only because I want to talk to someone about these, because I haven't met someone that has read these, but my god, these are really great books if you can deal with that. If you cannot deal with that, I've probably said a few books here that might give you trauma, but there are also a few books that I've already said that are really great for you if you just don't want to get through that drama, and I think there's a few more coming up. Sorry, I don't know, I just had like something come up, but no, it's okay. I am not going to read the back because you can do that. I do not want to get anyone triggered. You read the back if you're willing to. But yeah, this is the only purple-ish book. I don't know if this is purple or blue. It kind of looks more blue on the camera. But I did put this at purple because this is the only purplish book I have. That is all I have to say for this one. But my god, if you can, read this, please. We're now moving on to the stack of blues. Wait. This is blue. Shit. I stuffed up. This is the blue one. This is the purple one that I'm thinking of. No. We're on blue. We're on blue. We're still on blue. I messed up. Anyway, continuing. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry that I said that was purple. No, we're on blue. Okay, so we're on to The Love Hypothesis, which is, I'm pretty sure I said, yes, Ali Hazelwood. So this is technically the first book of the science romance books. I have read this. It did take me a while to get into the book. and I think that was more because I was in a slump. This got me out of the slump. So it's a nerdy book about biology and the romance. You don't really, you do have, like, you do read about, like, the biology of the stuff and whatnot, but it's not, like, so far into it, you're just like, you're not bored because it's talking about biology. It is a fake relationship between two scientists. Ooh, it's really interesting, and it's just interesting. So my personal opinion of age rating is 15, or possibly 16, as there's sexual context in the book with trigger warnings of death of family and past, cancer, sexual harassment, and sexual context, and language, sorry. But again, as I said before, a lot of these say language. If you're listening or watching this video, I've already got some language, so I'm pretty sure it's fine. If a book has language in it, I think when you're at the age of like 12 or 11, I think it's fine. 10 maybe, but like if they understand what it means and how it can change a whole sentence, then I think they're old enough to understand when and when not to use it. But so with the death of family and past and cancer, the death of family, see, I didn't remember this until I saw the trigger warnings, because I'm pretty sure it's just like near the front or something that it says it, and then you don't really hear much about it. The sexual harassment, though, is all the way at the end. I am saying this not to spoil it, but to give you a heads up, because no one gave me a heads up, and I was a bit like, ooh, what the hell did I just read? But yes, it's near the end of sexual harassment. I'm pretty sure the death of family is near the front. There's not that much sexual context, not like a heap. It does go into detail, but obviously it's sexual context. It always goes in detail. So this is technically a part of the series. Technically, I guess it's technically a series. But you do not need to really read these in any order to understand. Because they don't use the same characters. I'm pretty sure they mention the obviously the two characters or characters in the book, in the other books. But if you read it a different way around and read all of them, by the end of the day, you'll understand what the fuck's going on. Because I read them in order, besides from the last one. And yeah, you don't need to read them in order because they're two different couples. Well, technically three, but yeah, they're different couples, different people. But yeah, you don't really need to understand the storyline. Like, you don't need to go book 1, book 2, book 3 to understand the storyline. It could be book 3, book 1, book 2. Whatever you want to do. You can even read these as standalone, technically, because I thought these were originally standalone, and then I found out the other one was really it's over here, but yeah, the other one was released, and I was like, ooh, that's actually really cool. But yeah, you don't need to read these in any order. I wouldn't, but I did go 1, 2, 3, so either way, because my boyfriend hasn't read Love on the Brain, but he has read this one and the yellow one, the Love Theoretically one, but he didn't read the pink one, the Love on the Brain one. So yeah, you don't really need to read these in any order. We have another blue book. So yeah. Right, this one is Wreck the Holes, and by the way, when I said we had one more, we technically have two more. So this is a Christmas book, like based, it's a theme, really. But I didn't get to read it last Christmas. I did get it on Christmas, Christmas, but I didn't get to read it. And that was mostly because I was too busy. But the whole storyline is, which I've had to summarize on my computer because I can't understand the writing on this, but Melody spends her time restoring old books. That's a dream. Restoring old books, that is a dream job. But a producer offers her a lot of money to reunite her mother's band on live TV. Imagine your mother being in a band. Like, girl, I want that life. She wonders if she should shake up her quiet life and see him again. Beat Dawkins. I think that's how you say his name. The lead singer's son is Melanie's opposite. The camera loves him, but they might have been best friends if it were not for the feud that broke up the band. So I did look at the trigger warning database website. I have probably done this with almost all of the books that I'm going to say to you, but there's parental abandonment, blackmail, there's also sexual context throughout the novel. I am not sure if they are just the main ones or what, because a lot of the books, I'll look on one website and it will say 3 triggers. I'll go on another site, it will say 5 different ones. I'll go on another site and it'll say 20. So if you're gonna read a romance book, can you please look up the trigger warnings before you do so? So then you do not hold me accountable if there's something wrong with this book. But I'll continue. This is also a standalone book. And honestly, I reckon you could probably finish this in like a week or 2 if you were not busy or you didn't have school or uni or whatever. I'd say a 15-year-old could read this, depending on how mature they are, but I have not read this, so I cannot put my personal opinion on this. The edition that I have, though, also has designs on the chapters. Give me 2 seconds, and I just thought for $12, like 12 Australian dollars, like, look at the cover first off. And then you have this on the inside. So, for a cheap but pretty book for 12 Australian dollars, that's pretty good. That is honestly pretty good. Hopefully I will read this in like near the end of November so I can give you a review Christmas time. So then, you know, when you're looking for your Christmas books, boom, you've got one. I don't have any more themed books. I'm gonna see if I can get a Halloween themed book. So if you have any like holiday themed books, please put them in the comments. Tell me them so I can get them and so I can review them on the theme day. Alright. We're moving on to the second last blue book. Alright, so we're on the American Roommate Experiment. So I'm pretty sure this is the last book of Elena Armans. Now I think I'm saying that right, that I have at the moment. But once again, I haven't read this book. I know. Why do I have a lot of books but only read one? I don't know. The main characters are Rosie and Lucas. Rosie has a few problems. She did quit her well-paid job to focus on her romance writing career, only to have a creative slump. Of course, who can't? Who doesn't? Then of course, the ceiling of her New York apartment falls in. This girl's life, it just keeps going down and down. But to make matters even worse, she goes to her best friend's apartment and finds out that she's lent her studio to her cousin, and he suggests to share the place. Her cousin is Lucas. The trigger warnings on this book are parent abandonment, PTSD, anxiety, nightmares, and sexual context. I am pretty sure all of these books have sexual context at this point. I don't think there's a book that doesn't have it. But we're moving on swiftly. I would say a 15-year-old could read this, but once again, I haven't read this, so anything I say, please don't hold me accountable if your 15-year-old daughter or son has read this and is traumatized. I said a 15-year-old could. Doesn't mean they should. But yes, so once again with the PTSD, anxiety, nightmares, and parent abandonment, you kind of do learn that in year 8 and year 9, at least in Australia we do. We have a whole class about it. So yeah, I think a 15-year-old is quite appropriate for this, possibly a 14-year-old, but again, I do not know how in-depth the sexual context goes or even how deep these topics are. Because if I was 14 and I read it and it had a lot of sexual context, it had a lot of PTSD and nightmares, for me, I would not be able to finish that. For me, I'd probably get trauma from that book. But honestly, this book sounds really great because romance writer, it's a romance book. She's probably going to get inspiration from the guy. And possibly, like, I think at the back it said that she stalks him on Insta. So she's obviously probably got a little bit of a crush. So it's, I don't know if this is like a trope, but like childhood crush. That's what it kind of sounds like to me, honestly. Like if you're stalking someone's Insta, it's probably a childhood crush. But yeah, if you're a fan of Alina Arms, here's another book for you, if you haven't already read it. And we are now on to the final book, Book Lovers. I'm just going to film this in the same little video, so, but yeah, this is number 13, like, this is the 13th book. I don't even know how long this is, because I'm just doing these in segments, after I do about, like, 5 books, and I still have about 10 more to go. Also, Willow, do you have a problem? Nope, okay, you fixed it yourself. So Book Lovers, I did put this under blue, because it's mostly blue, but anyway, I did try to read this book. I think I got to, like, 2 chapters in, and I gave up. That was probably because I was in a bit of a reading slump, but I haven't tried to read it, or tried again, so we shall continue with the summary of the back. Nora is a literacy agent, her whole life is books, and Charlie is an editor with a gift for making bestsellers. He's Nora's work nemesis. This is already sounding great, which is why I do want to try to give this book another chance, but the trigger warnings are anxiety, panic attacks, medical sickness, grief, sexual context, and abuse. Now, this is one of the books that I looked up about 5 times, and there was a huge list. There was a huge bloody list. So, here on this website, it literally says most of these books include sexual context, topics of mental illness, panic disorders, death, grief, abuse, harassment, pregnancy, mention of alcohol, drug use throughout the book. I don't understand why it has to be a whole list. Ah, okay, so it's for Emily Henry's books, which is her. No wonder it had a list. But if any of those topics annoy you or you do not like them, don't read this chick's books. But the ones that do apply to this book are the ones that I said before. Anxiety, panic attacks, medical sickness, grief, sexual context, and abuse. But once again, please double check with the trigger warnings before you do read a book, as I do not want to be held accountable if you have trauma from these books. But with these topics, I would say 16, and again, they have to be mature, only because medical sickness and grief and abuse all in one is a lot. I mean, a 15-year-old could probably read this, but once again, I haven't read it. I read 2 chapters, and I think it was literally just the introduction to her life, what I've read. So yeah, I'm not entirely sure what the whole scenario is with the age rating, but yeah, I would say about 15, 16, and that is the last of the blue books, and we're actually finally moving on to the single purple book. So I will probably be about another 40 minutes of editing before we get the last run of books. This has taken me like 2 days. We're hitting home soon. Alright, so I stuffed up again. There is another book that I literally did not do, like, for a video. But, so, it is Book Lovers. I have tried to read this book, and I got 2 chapters in, and I gave up. Ooh, that was a nice crack. But I think it was because I was mostly in a slump. I don't think it was because I didn't enjoy it. But I haven't tried to read it again. But basically, Nora is a literacy agent, and her whole life is books. I wish I could have that. I wish I could have a life just with books. Charlie is an editor with a gift for making bestsellers, and, of course, their work nemesis. I don't even know the wording. The trigger warnings are anxiety, panic attacks, medical sickness, grief, and sexual context and abuse. There was a website with a longer list than what I just said, so I would probably go to Google and look that all up, because I honestly do not know, like, all of them, but it literally did have, like, 2 pages, which might just be going into, like, the finer detail, about them. But yes, can you please double check the trigger warnings of a book before you read it? At least the ones I'm recommending to you, because I have got books before that I didn't read the trigger warnings. I didn't know that there was a trigger warning for some of these books, and then I read them and I was like, oh, well, I was not expecting that. Not expecting that at all. But since I haven't read this, I cannot say my personal opinion of how old you should read this. But I'm going to say 16, 15. Why? It depends on how mature you are, but when I was in school, we learnt all about this when I was like 15, 16, so even 14, actually, we learned some of this stuff, so it really just depends on how mature the person is. If you're 18 or older, please ignore my age ratings, because there's no book that's like 18, like gonna be like 30 plus or some shit. So just ignore me with that. But yeah, there is literally, I can't really say anything about the book. But go Google them before you buy. Unlike me. Alright, so it's 11:35 on the 19th of June. Been doing this for about 2 days, including this one. And I need to get it done, like, at least all the recording by Saturday. So here we go. Halfway. Okay, so we have Saving Six. This is the last Boys of Totem book, I'm pretty sure. Yes, it's the last book. Okay, so in the Boys of Totem, this is the first book about Joey and Olift. I think that's her name, I'm not really sure, but the trigger warnings are physical and verbal abuse, suicide, ideaton, which I think is the meaning of the idea of suicide, underage drinking, drug addiction, substance abuse, child exposed to rape, depression, death, teen pregnancy, and sexual contact. I don't really recommend this if you're under the age of 16. I'm not really going to recommend this to a 16-year-old either, though. I think that's like the bare minimum I would go for this book. But honestly, with how hard these topics go, I might say this one is 18. But it really just depends on how the person takes this kind of information. I know I wouldn't really be able to take this information well at the moment, so I haven't started reading this yet. I will soon, but not yet. I'm trying to have happy books at the moment. Yes, this is a hard book to read. It's a hard book to just hear about. From what I understand, these aren't books about things that have happened to this author or whatnot, but obviously these things happen in real life, which makes it more upsetting and more real, honestly. And I can personally say that it really breaks my heart reading these kind of books, but that's what makes you want to read it more. People love reading sad stories. I do not know why, but we do. We like feeling the emotion of books. We like feeling the emotion, full stop. We just like crying. Women, I would say, like crying. Men, depends. My boyfriend did want to read these books, but then didn't because they were really thick. That's the only thing that's stopping him. Don't let that stop you, okay? If you read the first book, okay, by the way, at the ending of the first book, I think you kind of have to somewhat finish the second book. But if you finish the first two and you think it's really great, move on to these if you think you're ready. Taming 7, I'm not sure when this next book of that's coming out, but yes, I don't think this is really appropriate for people that are 16, but I think that's the bare minimum because of the topics in this book. But other than that, like, honestly, if you were not busy or if you read like an hour a day, I think you could finish this in a week. And I know you're probably like, oh my god, that's like what? 600-ish pages? You're crazy. Girl or guy, it's not crazy. It's not crazy. You just gotta try. I do try to read an hour a day. I haven't done that the last couple of days because I've been trying to do this before the end of Saturday. And it's almost about to be Thursday in like 20 minutes. So, yeah, I'm trying to get all this recording done by Thursday. So I haven't read for a while. But honestly, if you read for an hour a day, you got it. This is the end of purple. There is only one purple. My mistake before with Taming 7, that's not purple. This is purple. We're now moving on to the pinks, and there's not a lot of pinks, so hopefully this will be swift. So our first pink book is Not in Love. Now I did write a summary here on my little script, only because there is a lot. There's a lot of words on there, and this late at night it's really confusing. But Rue might not have it all, but she has enough. That's at least what she thinks. A few friends she can always count on, by financial stability and a successful career as a biotech engineer at Keelan. I'm going to say Keelan, but it is a place, so I'm not really sure. One of the most promising startups in the field of food science. So I'm not really sure if this is another example of the love hypothesis, but it does say love, and it is technically a science, so I'm kind of interested to know, because it also has this little symbol. And I don't think I've shown you guys, but if I just get this one, it also had, oh wait, no, not this one. Not that one either. Sorry, I need to get the love hypothesis one. It has a little symbol, little science symbol. I would have googled this if I had seen that before, but obviously didn't. Anyway, we shall continue. Her world is stable, pleasant, and heart thought. I think it's Eli. Oh, are you okay? Eli and his business partners want Keely, the place that she works. Period. He has his own reasons for pushing this deal, though. He's a man who gets what he wants, with one burning exception. Rue, the woman he can't stop thinking about, the woman who's off limits to him. Obviously, this is either like his best friend's sister or something, or like this is something. There's got to be a reason why she's off limits. I'm not really sure. I haven't read this. Okay, so this is kind of a bit. Oh no, never mind. I was gonna say it's a long list of trigger warnings, but no, it's not. There are mentions of addiction, social anxiety, parental death, parental neglect, and lots of sexual context. Now, if you go to the Ali Hazelwood website, it does say there is a lot of sexual context. So I have said that this book is probably best if it's 18 plus. I know all you guys be like, oh, that's unfair, blah, 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 blah. That's my recommendation. I haven't even read it yet. Okay? I could change that. I could say, oh, a 17-year-old could read it. A blah, blah, blah could read it. I'm gonna say 18 plus for now because there's, like, apparently a lot of sexual context and a lot of stuff going on in here. So for now, I'm going to say 18 plus, and a lot of other websites have agreed with me, so I'm going to stick with that. But we're going to move on to, I'm trying to do this very quickly, because it's late at night, and I still need to finish more scripts, but I know, I'm going at 100 miles per hour, but bear with me. But we are going to move on to the next pink book. Okay, so we're on to Secretly Yours. So Haley, I think her name is, has fallen for Julian at 14. Oh, sorry, fell hard for Julian at 14 after they almost kissed in the dark. Already, page 1, we've got something. Now the potential hottie has returned to their small town when Haley is hired to revamp the gardens of the Voss estate. She wonders if she'll finally get that smooch. But the grumpy professor isn't the teenager she remembers, and they're polar opposites. Personalities crash. One wine-filled girls' night later, Haley can't shake the sense that she did something reckless. And then she remembered the drunken secret admirer letter she left for Julian. Oh shit. That just sounds like a lot of drama and like a lot of things going on, which everyone's gotta love. Everyone's gotta love drama. Everyone's gotta, like, I don't know, everyone has that point in their life where they're like, I need drama, I need some sort of tenseness, and I think this is the book for you, the romance book for you. The trigger warnings are, though, parental abandonment, panic attacks, grief, and sexual context. So there isn't a lot of trigger warnings, and I would say a 16-year-old could read this. I would say younger, but there's sexual context, so it really depends on how mature they are. But honestly, I did get this book because I think it's a part of a set or series. I'm not really sure, because if I do go on Kindle and I press on it, there's 2 other books coming up. So yes, I'm not really sure if this is a series or a set or just a standalone. But yeah, it is like a lot of drama, and honestly, who doesn't love drama? I think this is the only book that doesn't have a lot of trigger warnings in it, surprisingly. And, since I'm not sure of the amount of spice, I'm going to stick with, 16. And I know some of my other books I did say 15 with sexual context, but yeah, I'm not really sure about the spice amount. And I've had friends say that Tessa Bailey is, got a lot in it, so I'm just going to stick with 15. And we're going to move on to the next book. Hooray. Okay, so we're on Checkmate. I think this is book 16. Because I accidentally did put one non-romance book in here, in the script, and then I realized, and yeah. Anyway, Mallory is done with chess. Every move counts. After the lead to the destruction of her family 4 years earlier, she agrees to play one last tournament and wipes the board. Okay, so even though this is Ali Hazelwood again, I literally only bought it because it's about chess. And if you know me personally, I love a good game of chess. I did watch Queen Gambit or whatever, I think that's the name of it, and I loved it. So this is a great book. I haven't read it. This is a great book for chess people. God, I'm not in my mood today. Nolan's loss to unknown rookie shocks everyone. He desired to play her again, and as she ranks up, she quickly realizes that the game ain't only on the board. The spotlight is brighter than she imagined. So the trigger warnings in this book is parental infidelity, which I did have to look that up. I didn't know what infidelity was, and it's basically cheating. And I didn't know that. So, learn something new every day. There's also sexual harassment, hospitalization mentioned. Big words. There is a car accident and sexual tension, so I'm going to assume there's also sexual context in here. This is the book that I thought had a logo on it, the science one, but it didn't, but it does have a little logo on it. It also has this really pretty, kind of sketch of chess pieces. I don't know if you can really see it, but if you do have the book, it does kind of look like they've sketched it out, which I find beautiful on a book. And I just opened the book. Sorry, I hope this doesn't spoil this for anybody, but there's little chess pieces on the chapters. I didn't even notice. I didn't even know. See, I think I need to open books up more, because I have noticed that some books have playlists in them. I didn't even know that, so it's very interesting. Anyway, I would say this is also again 16, which I think for most of these books are gonna be 16. But then again, I'm not really sure. But yeah, I'm gonna say 16 until I read it. And as you can tell, a lot of these books I haven't read yet. Like most book readers or lovers, we don't read half the books we buy. We create an addiction, and then we read them after 3 years of having them. But yes, I still recommend 16. I do think you should read this though if you're either a nerd or you just like chess. Ali Hazelwood is a very good nerd book. She's just a nerdy author, and I'm loving her. Alright, so we have 2 more pink books to go. So we're now on Flawless, which is number 17, I think. See, now I'm checking each thing, and look at this. Well, not only is it a very short chapter, but look at that. That is so cool. Actually, wait, is it a short chapter? I don't even think it's a short chapter, but the little design is so cool. Sorry, I'm covering it up so you guys don't read it. I know you want to spoil it for yourselves, but you're not reading it. Now I'm gonna check every book that like I pick up. Anyway, Flawless. It is a part of the Chestnut series. It doesn't say. Maybe is it the first page? It does not tell me, but I'm pretty sure it's Chestnut series. It does look like this. I don't know. It's a little ball, string, and a flower. It doesn't tell me the characters' names at the back, and I couldn't be bothered to Google it, so don't ask. A golden boy professional bull rider. His agent says he has to clean up his image, so he's stuck with his ball-busting daughter, like the agent's daughter. I know that doesn't make sense, but yeah. He thinks he doesn't need a babysitter, and he thinks she is the world. Basically the back of the book was I am, or she is. So I kind of just did a summary and said that she is the world, but basically he said, she says this means nothing, I say this means everything. That already wins my heart. It's already won. But there is also a lot of trigger warnings in this, and some people are probably going to be sad with my age rating, but here we go. There is parental abandonment, parental infidelity, toxic relationships and grooming, child abuse, divorce, alcohol, medical issues. It did have like 3 or 4 things of medical issues, so I just said medical issues. Bull riding accident, food shaming, grief, death, stalking, and sexual context. This is 18 plus. Why? If it has more than like 5 trigger warnings that bad, I'm sorry, but that is 18 plus. And I am also sad. I am 17 telling you that you probably shouldn't read this. I haven't read this, obviously. I do want to, after reading all the trigger warnings. I don't think I do. But yeah, obviously there is a lot of things going on in this book. I haven't got any of the other books of this series. I only bought one because I was told it's really good and to get it because of the other books that I've read. So I got it. I don't know if I'm going to regret it, but I'm going to read it. So I'm going to eventually read that. So yeah, it's kind of new though because I've never read a book about a bull rider. So I'm kind of excited. I'm also excited because we have one more pink book, and then I think we're either on white or black. I haven't decided yet. So one more. Love on the Brain. Hooray. We're finally, wait, we're not at the last Ellie Hazelwood book. There's one more. Alright, we're on the second last Ellie Hazelwood book, I think. Okay, I have confirmed it's the second last Ellie Hazelwood book. We have one more after this. Okay, so B is the main character in this book, and she is offered a job at NASA and is the lead job on a project. She is a neuroengineering project, and I didn't write it because I thought it was a big word. Then I read it 5 times, it wasn't a big word. Levi was softening into an ally, backing her plays, seconding her ideas, and devouring with his eyes. I have read this, as you can tell. 10 out of 10. I wouldn't read it again, as I'm not a huge fan of rereading, but if I could have the experience of reading this the first time again, I fucking would. Fucking read it, please. So the trigger warnings is death in the past, seizure, sexism, harassment, life-threatening situations, and I know you're like, oh, someone dies. No, they don't. And sexual context. The age I'm going to say is 15, only because not only do I think you guys should read this, but because it's somewhat like an innocent relationship until it gets to the sexual context. And I think all 15-year-olds could deal with the sexual context. But honestly, out of the Ali Hazelwood books that I've read, because there's one on Kindle, but I didn't put it in here because it's not an actual physical book I have at my mother's house. I didn't put it on this list, and I am sorry. But I am going to my dad's next week, so I will probably say all the books that I've read at his house. Anyway, I do recommend to read this. I do recommend to look at Ali Hazelwood for the 100th time. But yes. And it says the author of The Spanish Love Deception said your world is about to be rocked. There's also a few other reviews on the back. I do want to know. Oh, it also, that made a sound. It scared me. It also has just some little simple little dots on the top. See, when I started reading this, I was getting into annotation, so there's also highlighting in this book, which I'm really depressed I did, because I'm not a huge fan, but at the end of the day, it's okay. And the back, it does also say the other books that are coming and what has already been out, so the Kindle books. And look, there's a little love heart symbol. And honestly, these cartoonish covers are my favorite. Why? Because they're adorable and I just love them. I just love it. I just love it so much. That is the last pink, and I'm pretty sure we're now going to move on to the black books. And I've somewhat given up on a script, so I will look up the trigger warnings and a summary for you guys. So I will probably be back in my time in about 40 minutes and your time probably about 20 seconds. Okay, so it wasn't 40 minutes, but it's okay. So this is the last Ali Hazelwood book. Hooray, finally, we've gotten there. So the back is basically telling me is that Misery is the only daughter of the most powerful vampire councilman of Southwest, is an outcast again. Alpha Lowmoreland is no exception. His rules, his pack, are absolutely authority, but not without justice. So I know that you're probably like, the hell, what does that even mean? I read one sentence of each paragraph, because one thing that I do not like about reading the back of the book is that it spoils a lot, in my personal opinion. But as you can see from the front, it's about a werewolf and a vampire. So I've gone on the Ali Hazelwood website and I'm reading the context warning and notes for Bride. So there is death. It is mentioned. There are several mentions of blood, obviously, vampire, kidnapping, mild violence, poisoning, and attempted murder, attempted kidnapping, harming of child, death, well, it's another death thing, sexual context, knotting, I'm not sure what that means, and then obviously language, but again, language isn't really a trigger warning unless it bothers you, which I don't understand how it bothers people, but anyway. So one little review thing here, it says Hazelwood unleashes her sparkling voice and wit on a paranormal Romeo and Juliet. So it's forbidden love, and honestly, forbidden love is always the best. I've never watched Romeo and Juliet, I've never read it, but I do love the story. We did have to watch like a short video on someone doing Romeo and Juliet, like explaining it and whatnot, and I love it. I love the forbidden love and how they die for each other. I hope these people don't die for each other, but I do love the idea of paranormal Romeo and Juliet. So this is the last Ali Hazelwood book. My next book that I have, I'm probably going to be judged for, but it's okay, because you'll see it in about a minute. It's definitely been a minute, but it's Rarity by Colin Hoover. And I've read this book, okay? I have read it. And I know a lot of people say that Colin Hoover is a really bad writer. And I understand, as I've read it, and I've looked at some things that she's written. And it's honestly fair enough that people don't like her. But this book, I read it in a day. I read it in a day. And honestly, I'm not going to read the back because a lot of people don't like Colin Hoover, so I'm just going to say the trigger warnings and my feelings about it. There's child abuse, attempted self-abortion, death of child, death of parent, murder, attempted murder of a newborn, and car accident. I also want to say sexual context and some gore. And what I mean by some gore, you'll read the first paragraph and you'll understand what I mean. It is a thriller, and it is about an author who accepts the job of a lifetime, and she gets an offer from a author's husband, and the main character lives at the author's house. And she reads a manuscript that the author wrote, and she finds some things out. And at the end of the book, we're left wondering if what she wrote in the manuscript is real or not. And I guess we'll never know, which is why I read this in a day. And a lot of people are probably going to be like, oh, that's a bit of a spoiler, that's, you know, leaving me on the edge. Like, it's Colin Hoover, I don't like it. She's written some weird shit. Let's all admit it. She's written some weird shit. Rarity, I don't want to say it's weird, but it is a bit thrillerish. And it's a bit, you're hanging on your seat, and it's a bit like you're in a chokehold at the end of the book. Because I had to stop reading books for like 2-3 days after reading this, because I was like, what? But yes, since this is Colin Hoover, I will stop it there, because a lot of people don't like her, and it's honestly fair enough. Okay, so we're on Flock. And I've already said what the book is about, but just a reminder, Cecilia meets two guys, she falls in love, gets in a secret group. It's a Robin Hood retelling. It's somewhat dark romance. It says here it's got breathtaking twists. I don't want to say it's breathtaking, but there is a lot of twists. And they're like, I'm hanging off my seat, but I can still breathe. So one thing I did before reading these books was looking up what the title meant, which I'm not going to say, because honestly, when you read the book, right, and then you move on to the second one and you do that, you somewhat spoil it for yourself. And I know people are like, how do you spoil it? because the name means something. The name means something. And honestly, I think it's great. The book is great. The book is amazing. I would reread it. Well, I would want the experience of reading it for the first time again. But the trigger warnings are drug use and cancer. I want to say also sexual context. Again, relationships with 3 people in it. And I feel like there's some more, but you might have to do your own research for that. There's not much else I can say about the book. I do have the finish line here as well, which I'm also going to say, mostly just for me to save time in the video, because I feel like this is going to be like an hour-long video. And because this is the ending of the book, like, of Flock. I only tabbed the top. I know, what an idiot. But this is the ending relationship and how they end, like, how they finish. This one does have some violence and whatnot in it, like, for trigger warnings. For the whole series, I'm gonna say it is for, like, 16-year-olds, 17. Mostly because it's dark romance. I don't really think dark romance is for, like, 15, 16-year-olds, but it just depends on how mature they are. And I don't know, it's really addictive, I guess, and, like, I got addicted to, like, thriller romances because of them, but I never got the same feeling, and I don't want you guys to experience, like, 16, 17-year-olds to experience that, and then ending up reading Haunting Adeline, like, really dark romance just to feel the same suspense. So I'm gonna say 16, 17, but I don't recommend it for them. I have one more book left, and then we're done. We are done reviewing books. We are done talking about them. It's sad, I know, but it took 2 days. We're on the last book. We are literally hitting home. We are going home, actually. Punk 57. I know a lot of people were reading this. I think it was maybe last year. And it says, in 5th grade, my teacher sets up with pen pals from different schools. Thinking I was a girl with the name of Marissa, the other teacher paired me up with a student, Ryan. My teacher, believing Ryan was a boy like me, agreed. It didn't take long for us to figure out the mistake, and in no time we were all arguing about everything: the best takeout pizza, Android versus iPhone, whether or not Eminem was the best rapper. And they end up meeting. Wow. So the trigger warnings is slut shaming, homophobia, I think that's what that means. Yeah, that's homophobia. Cheating is mentioned, depression, drug use, death, and bullying. And obviously sexual context. My friend read this. They think 17, 18, like, people should read that. I'm gonna stick with her word, as I haven't read this. And I know, what a surprise, I haven't read it. Dog, you need to shut up. So yeah, what a surprise, I haven't read it. But compared to all the other books that I've just reviewed here, or looked at, she said to read this. If you're 18, 17, possibly 16, if you're, like, really mature, read it. She just said read it. I got it. haven't read it, mainly because I just cannot be bothered to read it, and I haven't been in my romance like era for a while. But all she said was read it. I'll trust this woman with my life, so read it. Read it. I'll read it eventually. But with cheating, drug abuse, and the scenes that I heard in this book, I'd say 17, 16, 18. But yeah, that was the final book, y'all. That was the final book. Alright, so this is obviously the end of the video. I am sorry it was over an hour and almost 2 hours. As you guys can see, I've already got a new background. You know, you're probably like, what the hell? I'm at my father's. I'm gonna be here for like 3 weeks. So more videos are coming. I've already started the next one, which will not be 2 hours. I've already split it up into multiple videos, so it won't be 2 hours. If you guys actually made it to the end, good on you guys. Honestly, I don't think I could have done that. Have a great day. I hope you did enjoy, and I hope you did find your favorite color or even your next book to read. Have a great day. Watch more videos. Bye.